You know, for half a century, we all thought we had the Beatles figured out, right? The haircuts, the screaming fans, the classic hits. But what if I told you their real story, their biggest secret, wasn't about any of that? It was a blueprint hiding right there in the music, just waiting for us to find it.
Yeah, see, their rise to fame, it wasn't some happy accident. It wasn't just luck. It was totally deliberate, like an act of architectural genius. They literally built the foundation for modern music. The question is, how did four guys from Liverpool pull that off? Okay, so here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at their simple pop disguise. Then, we'll dig into the deceptive musical structures hiding underneath. After that, we'll see how they totally rewrote the rulebook, turned the studio into their personal playground, and finally, we'll lay out their unforgettable blueprint.
All right, first up, the simple pop disguise. And really, it's all about an illusion. I mean, on the surface, their early stuff sounds like perfect, catchy, 2-minute pop songs. But that's exactly what they wanted you to think. It was a seriously brilliant disguise.
I mean, just think about We Can Work It Out. It clocks in at just over 2 minutes. It's the perfect pop single, right? It sounds so easy, but that simplicity, that's the whole magic trick. It was designed to hide absolute genius in plain sight.
So what exactly was hiding under those super catchy melodies? Well, this is where we start to find the first pieces of that blueprint. They were putting their songs together in ways that, well, nobody else was even thinking about, and they were doing it right from the start.
Okay, check this out. On the left, you've got your standard, predictable pop formula from the 60s. Verse, chorus, you know the drill. But on the right, that's the Beatles. We Can Work It Out is a perfect symmetrical palindrome. It feels so good to listen to because it's a closed loop. It wraps back around on itself perfectly. It's elegant, it's balanced, and it was completely unheard of for pop music. See, they weren't just writing songs, they were designing them.
And it wasn't just about the song structure either. They were sneaking in these really advanced musical ideas, like something called modal inflection. Now, that sounds super technical, I know, but all it really means is that they'd borrow chords from other keys to create this unexpected sound, like a sudden feeling of sadness or a surprising twist. And yet they used it in Love Me Do, their very first single. They were dropping hints of their genius from day one.
So here's the big takeaway from this part. This wasn't just about writing a catchy tune. This was architectural design, plain and simple. Every single note, every chord, was put there for a reason. They were building these incredibly complex structures that just so happened to sound like simple, effortless pop. And that brings us right to our next point, rewriting the rule book. We're going to see how they took all that hidden complexity and used it to just completely tear up the rules of music, fusing sounds and styles in ways nobody had even dreamed of. And this story just captures their spirit perfectly. Their own producer, the legendary George Martin, told them a chord they wanted to use sounded too old-fashioned. You know, like something from the Andrews Sisters in the 40s. And the Beatles, they basically said, we don't care. They insisted on using it. They were hearing connections and possibilities that no one else could. I mean, they shattered the mold in every possible way. They were fusing 1940s harmonies with rock and roll. They started throwing in instruments like alto and tenor flutes. And think about this. While every other song on the radio was just fading out, they were writing actual composed endings. And the lyrics, they went from I Want to Hold Your Hand to the heartbreaking social commentary of Eleanor Rigby in just a couple of years. The leap was insane.
All right, I want you to remember this number. 2 minutes and 10 seconds. That was the magic number, the unwritten law of pop radio. You did not make a single longer than that.
And then this happened. 7 minutes and 7 seconds. Hey Jude wasn't just a song, it was a freaking event. It starts as this beautiful hymn, and then it transforms into a 4-minute mantra-like jam session. It broke every single rule for what a #1 hit was supposed to be, and the entire planet sang along. Just incredible.
So as their songwriting got more and more ambitious, their methods had to evolve too. They had this massive realization. The recording studio wasn't just a room to record a performance. It could be a place to invent sounds from scratch. And this is where they went from being a great band to being true sonic pioneers.
You have to understand what a huge shift this was. Back then, most bands just went into the studio to record what they played live on stage. But the Beatles, they started creating sounds that were physically impossible to perform live. The tape machine, the mixing board, all of a sudden, those were their new instruments.
The ultimate example of this has to be Strawberry Fields Forever. It's an amazing story. John Lennon loved the beginning of one take, but he loved the end of a totally different take. The problem? They were in different keys and played at different speeds. It should have been impossible to put them together. So what did they do? Their engineer literally took a razor blade, physically sped up one tape, slowed down the other, and spliced them together right at the 1-minute mark. It's a miracle it even worked, but the result is this seamless, surreal masterpiece.
And they just kept pushing it further. Take a single song, Tomorrow Never Knows. It's like they just threw the entire kitchen sink at it. You've got Indian drones, you've got tape loops they made at home playing both forwards and backwards, this new trick called artificial double tracking, and this is my favorite, John's voice piped through a spinning Leslie speaker. It was a complete sonic collage, and it sounded like nothing else on Earth.
So, when you put it all together, what do you get? You've got the deceptive song structures, the constant rule-breaking, the wild studio experimentation. It all adds up to something way bigger than just a bunch of hit songs. They literally invented a new language for music. And that right there is the heart of the blueprint. The Beatles didn't follow trends. They set them. They didn't just operate within the music industry. They completely rewired it from the inside out. They showed everyone that a pop song could be complex, it could be adventurous, and it could be incredibly profound.
And what's just mind-blowing is the speed at which all this happened. I mean, look at this timeline. In just 6 years, they went from a cleverly written pop song to the Abbey Road medley, where they wove 8 totally distinct song fragments into one epic 16-minute piece of music. Their ambition was just off the charts.
So in the end, their greatest trick of all was hiding an entire revolution right there in plain sight, in songs we've heard 1,000 times. They built a musical blueprint that artists are still following today. So I'll leave you with this question. Now that you've seen the architectural plans, what are you going to hear the next time you listen?